and what's up everyone? So we're gonna do a quick video here, kind of going over the ban list and kind of what it kind of means going forward for the format upcoming. You know, by now I'm sure all of you have seen kind of the hits that have happened on the ban list. 4 bans. I think we got a total of 8 limits. No, 9 limits because 1 card came off the list, and then a couple of unlimits here. But first and foremost, I'm actually shocked we got a ban list like today. I know some people here and there were memeing about it, like, oh, ban list today. But it is actually one of those things where just going in there and seeing, hey, someone posted this in my Discord from former top YouTuber, Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitive player, and then just checking it out, I'm like, if this list is real, oh shoot. And sure enough, yeah, it turned out to be true. Shocked that we got a list this early on, and shocked, but at the same time, a happy kind of shock at the hits we've got. Now, I know a lot of top players have actually really enjoyed this format because whenever it comes down to a tier 0 format, it comes down to who is the better pilot of the deck. And with that, it's kind of where they describe it as a more skillful, pardon my word, messing up here, more skillful format. But whenever it's tier 0 format, you run the gamut of it being, one deck being competitive and all the other ones, kind of fall by the wayside. And that's one way that you drive the engagement of the player base way down. We saw with some of these regionals and YCSs recording lower numbers than usual. So, not all of the player base wants to be in a format where if you aren't playing the best deck, you can't even compete. And yeah, that kind of happened with some of these events having less participation than normal. I am someone who did want to build a Shizu tier just because the deck looked like it had so many different plays that you can make. I'm a person who likes being able to have a lot of options instead of just like having one set option going through all the time. So I am a little sad that I missed the boat on it, especially because a lot of the cards had dipped in price. The biggest point of entry barrier for me was the field spell, but that, because of the unlimited release of Power of the Elements, it dropped down. So this kind of opens up the format a little bit more going forward. So we'll go ahead and take a quick look at some of the hits. Artifact Sight. Honestly, it's a card that no one was really playing too much of now, but at any given time it can come back and be a bit of a problem card. So it's one that a lot of players thought should have gotten away a while ago, myself included. So just glad to, put it in there right now. That way we don't have to deal with it later. Take care of it. Barrier Statue of the Stormlands, a good hit on Flow Under Ease. Necessary hit because not only did this card make, some matchups, it made some people not be able to play the game because of the reliance on special summoning. It was a card that I can understandably see it go because of how easy Flunders gained access to it. Not just Flunders, but Kashtira as well had ways of being able to get that out as part of their long-running combo. So one indirect hit to Kashtira, not bad. 2-element Kid Kalos, the amount of combos, mills, plays that you pulled off of one was ridiculous. Understandable to see it go. One that nobody should have been shocked that they saw going away, especially with the amount of plays it could do. Playing against it this past Thursday at a local, it went like my opponent went from 0 to 60 really quickly with this card, and then Sprite Elf. Genuinely shocked it got hit because I thought this was going to be one of those like powerful monsters that they just don't touch for a while because it's splashing everywhere, but Like, Sprite Elf was ridiculously powerful. Like, it was a card that, when you look at what it does, you're like, okay, yeah, it had to get hit. Special summoning during either player's turn makes, the cards it points to non-targetable. Protection, like, it was really, really good. And it's, two generic materials that was easy to make in so many of the decks. Like, unexpected hit, but a welcome hit. And then we'll go over here to the limits. It makes me appreciate that the TCG site of Konami looked at what few hits they were giving, not few hits, but what hits they were giving tier limits in the OCG, and just saw that they straight up were not working out. That the deck was still powerful, it was still the top deck, regardless of what they were slowly nipping away at it, so they just cut the head off the beast right off the bat, and just limited everything. Fair play to them. I still think this deck will work, and it'll still be a threat if you're not prepared for it, but it's not going to be the defining threat, especially if you're able to find in the stops now. They don't have, basically the ammo to keep going. So with these sits, really good. I don't think they outright murdered the deck. I think the deck is still going to be playable enough. But it is definitely not the tier 0 threat that it once was. And then Ancient Fairy Dragon, we'll be getting a lot of that. A lot of people are speculating in March, so it coming off preemptively, not bad. And then over to the Unlimited, Yatagarasu, like, is not the devastating force that it used to be. I think Master Plan is still banned, so Spiral Resort, can come off. Let's Sagim, the Disaster. I don't think dinosaurs are as playable right now, but it is something that they can do to kind of stop the extra deck. It's just way easier to stop them nowadays than it was in the past. Servant of Endymion, a nice little break for Pendulum players to get back. Phantom Beast Line and Jet Synchron with Halki gone. Makes sense that these guys are back to 3. And then Destrudo. I think he'll make some plays here and there, but I think its time may have gone by the wayside. But good to get your copies and prepare of the new dinosaur stuff that's coming out down the line. Honestly, that stuff will come out in September here. It'll come out down the line, but the new dinosaur support that was just announced for the OCG. When it gets here, get your Destrudos ready. So going forward, it's like Kashtira will be the top deck without doubt. But what's good about Kashtira is that a lot of their plays, you can kind of follow through and see, okay, what they're going to go. There's no like hit or swerve that they can kind of go through, because kind of their plays kind of mainly end the same. That and, unlike, sprites or tier limits, like Nibiru is a really, really good card to play against them. It's something that once they set up most of their board, you can just, find the spot where they can really bounce back and nib the board. And then the Cover Girl that was on the map for Power of the Elements, can't think of her name, but that one might be something worth playing in there. So the beautiful thing about Kashtira is that they don't really set up too many Omni Negates, so you have ways to kind of break through their board and kind of go through, because unlike tier elements where they get all their, once you break through and they start activating their effects in the graveyard, they set up all their stuff again. Kashtira won't do that. Now then, the blocking off of your zones is going to be a massive, massive problem, and something to kind of get prepared for. But I don't think that they're as unbeatable as tier elements were. Like, tier elements were beatable, don't get me wrong, but like you had to work really, really hard to kind of get through, their board, their effects, them being able to play on your turn. With Kashtira, it's way, way simpler. It's still going to be hard, but you're going from, to put in terms of difficulty rates from Pokemon, you're going from 7-star rates in Kashtira or in Tier Shizu to 5-star rates in Kashtira. So I think much more manageable. A lot of players who don't like playing against Glondrees, hey, you probably won't be seeing too much of them because most of their board relied on them having that wind barrier statue and then being able to go through, kind of defend the tower with barrier statue. With that gone, you really, a lot of the decks can play their monsters in defense position to avoid the M-Pen stuff. They still play during your turn, but you won't be locked out of special summoning as much. And I think you'll see a lot less focus on shifter decks going forward. Just because Kashtira really doesn't rely on their graveyard as much as other decks. So if you're someone who absolutely despises dimensional shifter, you probably won't be seeing too much of that in this format. Now then, for other decks that did use shifter and did kind of play around with graveyard, like my Exosister deck profile that I just released a few days ago, and oh boy, 3 days in already, it's out of date. It's going to be a lot rougher because some of these decks really don't interact with their graveyard as much as you would like, so it's going to make it harder for a deck like that to play through, but I believe Sprites will still be able to do some stuff even with the banning of Elf. I think they still have enough plays to kind of go into other kinds of boards and all the variants of Sprites, so you can go play Nimble Sprites, Tri-Sprites, etc., etc. I think those will be very good options for you going forward. Dragon Link could even see a bit of a comeback here now that, the bigger thing, speaking of Dragon Link, is with Tier being downsized a lot, I don't think you'll see too much of the Bystials at the moment. So if you're afraid of basically having a 2500 DD Crow come out and banish one of your pieces, I think you'll be safe. Unless Bystial Cash is a deck, which I'm sure someone's trying to figure out a way to make that work. And then, even Branded can be a really good option if you're more of a budget player. That could be the budget deck of this format. So it's going to be really interesting because I know a lot of the kind of builds that people are making were like, okay, and this is how we're going to counter the Tier Shizu stuff. So with those kind of taking a massive hit, kind of be on the lookout. It'll be an easier format for people to get into, and it's too early to say if it'll be a fun one. Because diverse formats don't always equal fun, especially if most of the boards just end up being the same. But I'd much rather face down a Kashtira board than a Tearlament board, because at least I know when I send the Kashtira stuff to the graveyard, they won't be popping off 5 different effects. But yeah, no, that was just my quick thoughts on the ban list here. Overall, really glad they dropped it. I thought for sure we weren't going to get it till YCS Los Angeles. So getting it this early means, I think if you're kind of worried about setting up a deck, I think you're good up until probably Nationals. Whatever deck you go, you can kind of tinker around with up until the US Nationals, because I think with this list we're going to be set for a while. So spring regional season and the summer regional season, I think that'll be our list for that. So kind of get out there to building. I know I'm probably going to get started on building a version of Branded and a version of Sprites here in the next few weeks, so kind of look forward to that. But overall, I'm really satisfied with the list. Sad I didn't get to play Ishizu Tier, but at the same time, hopefully this kind of encourages more players to kind of show up now that there isn't really one end-all be-all deck. So Those are just my quick thoughts. What are your thoughts? Do you think there's something that should have been hit? Do you think there's something that shouldn't have been hit? And what do you think the next best deck is going forward? Till then, talk to you guys later. Take care.